I'm going to start, if that's okay.
Please.
And I'm quite abrupt, just so you know.
I do know that about you.
Hello, welcome to the Bookcast Club, a podcast for people who like to chat books. My name is Sarah, and I am coming to you today from the Netherlands. And I'm very excited to welcome my friend Cobby on the pod. Hello.
Oh, hi. I'm Cobby, and I'm coming to you from Sydney, the Eora Nation, and I'm very happy to be here.
You're one of our patrons, I think, right?
I am, yeah.
Which is very sweet of you. Which I've told you not to be, but you ignore. But anyway.
You've never told me that, Sarah.
I actually told you must be. That's how we became friends. It's the only way that I make friends these days.
That's right.
We're here to sort of largely talk about the Booker, because we normally do a Booker episode, and I was less enthusiastic. I'm not really feeling as much structured reading as I used to, so I was sort of unmotivated to do a Booker episode. But then we decided that we would do one together, which is fun. But we've only read the shortlist with a small amount of dedication, I would say.
Yeah, a very minimalist attitude towards actually reading the shortlist.
Yeah, with a lot of self-care, i.e. not doing a lot of it.
Yeah. I've succeeded better in previous years, so...
Yeah, I remember when you read at least the whole shortlist, maybe even like a substantial portion of the long list, and I was very impressed.
I do have a dear friend, and during COVID times, we read most of the long list and all of the shortlist together. But that hasn't transpired this year. That's okay.
Are you still friends?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. Lovely. So I think together we've read 4 of the 6 books, including the winner, so that's exciting. So I'm going to read out to you what the shortlist is.
Please.
And then we will talk about them. Okay, so the shortlist is Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood, who's Australian. Very exciting. The Safekeep by Yael van der Wouden. Held by Anne Michaels. Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. James by Percival Everett. And Orbital by Samantha Harvey, which is the winner.
That is the winner.
Very exciting. Yeah, so we're recording this a few days after the winner was announced. So I have read... Yeah, so we're going to talk about Orbital, James, The Safekeep, and Stoneyard Devotional, I believe.
Yeah.
The Creation Lake, I don't know. Have you read The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner?
I haven't. Have you? You have.
No, it sort of hovers in my consciousness, and I feel like I should read it, but I haven't. And then when Creation Lake was nominated, I was like, oh, maybe this is the time that I read something of hers. But I'm yet to do it. I don't know. And then the other one, Held by Anne Michaels, I don't know. This book just looks so...
I started reading it, and I only got a few pages in. That was the next one on my list. I picked them randomly. I tried to not think too much about it, and I didn't get too far.
Yeah, I think I read. So it's an epic novel that's set over like 100 years, 4 generations, starting from the First World War and then moving forward. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. I have a bit of a no for books about the First and Second World War. I don't know, especially the Second World War.
Yeah,
I'm a bit.
You've said that. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'll say it again. Yeah, it's a bit... Actually, can I tell you a side note? Our mutual friend Jane, she told me yesterday that she wanted to cheer herself up by watching a fun rom-com, and she chose The English Patient. She's like, I cried for 2.5 hours.
It's funny you should say that, because it is a Booker winner, and I read it recently. I saw in Storygraph that you had not finished it.
No, I just remember it was very dreary, is what I remember.
I found it was fast paced. It didn't stop.
Are you joking?
No.
I think you are joking.
No, I'm not joking. It's not long. A lot happens.
I found it very bleak. I just remember it was very depressing and bleak.
No, it's definitely horrifically bleak. I have a very vague memory of watching as a small child in the early 90s the film. And there were no plot points for me, so there were no spoilers. I didn't know what happened. I just knew it had Kirsten Scott Thomas in it. Kirsten Scott Thomas?
I believe it's Kirsten Scott Thomas.
Thank you. And
not to be confused with Kirsten Stewart.
No, never. Or Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten Dunst. Anyway, and Lord Voldemort, Ralph Fiennes.
Yes, well, this is what motivated Jane. Actually, speaking of Lord Voldemort, is she wanted to watch
Ralph Fiennes film.
a film
A
with
rom-com.
Ralph Fiennes. And I said I don't think he's in any.
He's not in any rom-coms, Jane.
No, he's rather typecast as a villain, I believe.
Oh, or well, in this, very much a highly romanticized love interest, I would say. Right?
Well, the other options, so the two films that she thought of, this is to cheer herself up, were that or Schindler's List. So she came to me in the throngs of despair, having just spent 2.5 hours crying over The English Patient, and I was like, oh. You probably shouldn't have had those strict parameters to begin with. You could have maybe thrown yourself out to other actors that might have brightened the space somewhat.
I'm not gonna. Oh, it's also got Colin Firth in it, and he's the villain. If sorry, spoilers. This is a spoiler.
Oh,
If you
okay.
want to read The English Patient, here's a spoiler. If it's true to the book, then he's the villain of the piece.
I haven't seen it. Jane said it was more dreary than the book. It was even more depressing.
Oh,
so that's good.
Amazing. And Juliette Binoche, of course. I don't know how you can be depressed watching anything she's in, but okay, Jane, it's fine. It's fine.
There's something wrong with her. I'm about to go see in a few days. I'm going to go see the new Cillian Murphy film.
Oh, The Wind That Shakes the Barley.
What?
Was a film he was in.
Oh, I was like, no, it's called Small Things Like These.
No, I know.
Don't know.
Sorry.
Okay.
Let me say, I'm alluding to him getting back to his Irish roots. Is he Irish?
Yes.
I just assume he is because he's called Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, he certainly is Irish. Yeah.
And he's in The Wind That Shakes the Barley, which is a very emotional film. Maybe Jane could watch it to cheer herself up.
Well, this one's about sort of how they were treating pregnant women who were unwed, bringing them into like sort of nunneries. So that's probably quite the ticket for Jane and her throngs of despair.
The Magdalene Laundries.
That's exactly. I couldn't remember what it was called. That's exactly what it's about. We're going to talk about it on the podcast actually. Jenny and I are going to watch the film because it's a very short book that came out maybe like 4 years ago. Small Things Like These. I think it was also nominated from the Booker, I want to say.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh my goodness. I own this book, and it was the one book from last year's Booker list I didn't read. It was the shortest book, and I was saving it till last. Am I lying to you?
It might have been. It's in recent years. It might
Yeah.
not have been. You might be lying last year.
Okay.
But it certainly was on the Booker shortlist, so there's truth in your story in some capacity.
Thank you.
There's a kernel in there. You know a lot about films. I'm always very impressed by you.
I don't at all. Why would you say that?
Yes,
I
you
don't.
do. That's actually you do a lot. Especially you know a lot about who's been in what. You have a lot of your knowledge of actors is very
I
good.
do have a peculiar knowledge of that sort of thing, but I haven't actually seen lots of films. For example, I can tell you who's in The English Patient, but I haven't really seen The English Patient.
Okay, you're very good at it. Very helpful in quizzes.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness.
You also know directors quite well, much better than I do.
Oh, stop it.
Which is to be fair, it's hard to be worse at me, the directors. I know about 4 of them. I proudly told someone yesterday that Inception is a Christopher Nolan film, and he was like, yeah, I'm aware of that.
I didn't know that.
Well, please, you know now.
It's the Dunning-Kruger effect, though, isn't it? Because I'm compared to Tim, and he has a intelligent and insightful as he is, and as good a memory as he has, no memory at all for that sort of thing. Like actors, plots, they don't register.
No.
So I look good compared to him.
That's the main thing, yeah.
It's all that really matters. Yeah.
I think that's a good thing to have in a partner. In what way did they make me look good?
Oh, absolutely. That's all I considered when we got together. Will you make my pop culture knowledge look impressive? Yes. Fantastic. Off we go.
Wonderful. Till death do us part. Now, we should talk about these books, I suppose. What would you like to start with? I kind of want to start with Sonia Devotional because that's one that I
felt like you were gearing up to maybe deliver some curt feedback to the author about Sonia Devotional.
So Sonia Devotional. So Charlotte Wood is an Australian writer who I have to say I really, really like. I'm very happy she got nominated for this. And I've read a couple of her other books. I've read... Her most famous one is The Natural Way of Things, which I haven't read. But I've read The Weekend, which is set in Sydney over a weekend, which I really like. You've read that?
No, I really want to read that. I've seen it and wanted to read it, so it's a shame I haven't.
Yeah, it's really good. It's about 4 women who are very good friends, who have been very good friends for a long time. So I think they're in their 60s. So it's quite interesting because female friendships is not something that is like massively interesting apparently, because it's not really a thing that's often explored, and especially these kind of like long term. They kind of all hate each other a little bit because they've been friends for decades, and it just feels unusual. And then the other one I read of hers is called The Submerged Cathedral, which I also really enjoyed. That's quite beautiful. It's kind of more of a love story, and it has things about classical music like dispersed throughout, and I really liked it. The reason I'm waxing lyrical so much about her other books is because I didn't like Stoneyard Devotional. So that's essentially about this woman who... What does she do? Yeah, she lives in Sydney. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. She's an endangered species conservation specialist. And then she goes to this convent in rural New South Wales because she's very depressed about the climate crisis and like sort of looming, all this despair that's looming. So she goes to sort of find herself in this convent. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, me as a reader, I found the idea of a convent in New South Wales quite odd. New South Wales is the state that Sydney is in Australia.
I mean, I feel her about the climate crisis, but if I looked for a convent, I wouldn't know where to begin. Actually, I tell a lie. There's one on the same street as my work.
Oh, that's lovely. You don't have to go far.
Literally. Yeah.
It's a 20-minute walk for you to find yourself.
Bye, everyone. I'm off.
I just found it, to be honest, I found it excessively boring.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe it's just me. I just like stories about reasonably wealthy people going to find themselves is just not something that motivates me personally.
That seems super fair.
But as a writer, I really like her, so I would recommend her in general. Stoneyard Devotional did not... at no point did it sort of like entice me, if you know what I mean. I just sort of read it in quite a neutral way. I read this about 6 months ago, I would say, in Australia. So, however, my good friend Lee, who reads a lot of books, and I'm always trying to get her on the podcast because she's very opinionated. She always tells me that I'm wrong. She really liked it, and she thinks I'm wrong, so she thought it was wonderful.
I'm fascinated now.
Yeah, when I told her I didn't like it, she said I was closed-minded. I was like, okay.
Oh, gosh.
She's about 75. She's quite funny. She doesn't have time for my opinions. She's like, well, you should broaden your mind. I was like, okay.
It sounds interesting.
I would definitely read her other books first if you're interested in Charlotte Wood. Like, The Weekend is really cool. All right, let's talk about the Safekeep next. Can we?
Oh, please.
This is one I was very excited about because it's set in the Netherlands, of all places.
Yeah.
And it's actually set in this really obscure province called Overijssel, which is, it's so bizarre. Even when I told like all of my Dutch friends that I was reading a book set in Overijssel, and they were all like, what? It's this very like rural, bizarre province that nothing ever happens in.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it was really, I really, really liked this. This is set in the Netherlands in the 60s. I literally just finished it this morning, actually. And it is about this woman who's I think she's in her late 20s, something like that, early 30s. And she lives by herself in her family's old farmhouse. And she is very sort of like repressed and angsty in a very kind of like Otessa Moshfegh sort of Eileen kind of way, where it's a little bit kind of like almost sexual in like how repressed and confined she is, if you know what I mean. Like she knows exactly how many kind of spoons there are in the house, and she kind of counts them obsessively, and she thinks that everyone's stealing off her, and she sort of but lives in this sort of like big old house all by herself, and it has this kind of like tense, weird energy for no reason.
Yep.
And then she's got 2 brothers, Hendrik and Lewis, and then Hendrik is he lives in Amsterdam. No, they both live in The Hague, and then her brothers are kind of like they're both kind of like flamboyant like characters who are doing a lot of like fun stuff with their life. Like Lewis has like different women constantly. He's like always in love with different women, and he's always like dragging different girls home and saying like, oh, I'm in, like, this is the one. And then he sort of drops them, and he lives this kind of like a very chaotic life that is like kind of a lot of fun.
A Lothario.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. And then Sebastian is gay, but this is the 60s, so he like sort of lives with this like quote unquote roommate, but they also like are very happy together. and are sort of living there as best a life they could. So he sort of has this opposite where he sort of found this person, Sebastian, that he
Yeah.
adores. The two brothers are sort of living sort of life to the fullest in like very different ways, but they're both kind of happy. And then Isabel just kind of lives in this old house, storming around. Like one of the plates is broken, and she still has all the pieces because she's quite obsessed with the fact that someone broke a plate. And then her brother's current girl comes to stay with her because she needs somewhere to stay, and it becomes like very tense, and she's just sort of storming around the house after this girl, convinced that she's going to steal things from her. And then it sort of becomes this sort of like tense romantic thing actually between the two of them, and it becomes very sexual in a very tense and angry way.
My God.
Sort of Isabel doesn't relent. Yeah, I really liked it. As the book goes on, you sort of learn more about this girl, Eva, her name is, the person that her brother is sort of currently dating, what her story is. It's all like, there's a lot of stuff that's happening because of, it's just after the Second World War. So a lot of things are kind of settling. There's a lot of like politics settling. I've really loved it. It has got this weird energy that I really was quite fevered, but weirdly quiet, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
I really, really liked it. I thought it was great.
It does sound very good.
Yeah, it was very odd. There's like a weird scene where Eva buys her a pear. She goes to the market and comes home with this like really ripe pear. And it looks really delicious, but Isabel like doesn't want to eat it. So she sort of goes and eats it in the back room, but like it's so delicious, so she kind of like puts it all in her mouth, like quite like really loves it, but doesn't want it. It's really odd. It's very like
Is it
sort of repressed and religious.
does it continue on with that theme of being sort of metaphorically sexual, or is it explicitly so? Is that a plot point?
It becomes explicitly sexual, but it's still kind of like tense and weird the whole time. So they end up sort of sleeping together, but it's just tense and weird the whole way through.
It sounds
Yeah, I really like it.
very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I like this fevered energy.
Mm.
I thought it was great.
And set in the Netherlands.
It was fun. It was very fun. They're all going to places I know. They're all bumbling around. So that was the Safekeep. I really liked it. Really, really liked it. Really enjoyed it. Just really enjoyed it. Can't really say anything else. It's a book I've been a while since I enjoyed a book that much, I think. So really good.
Would you say it's a book with strong characters and minimal plot, or would you say there's
Yes.
a strong narrative arc also?
Oh, actually, it's got both actually, because it seems very character driven.
Okay.
At the beginning, at least the first half is purely character, but then the second half you find out a lot more about Eva herself, like why she's in the family in the first place. It turns out that there's more than meets the eye. Why she actually is like dating the brother in the first place.
Okay.
So she turns out to be like quite complex.
Okay.
And that's all very plot driven. So yeah, it kind of changes. The last third is quite different. And that's what the two pairs are on the front on the European cover. There's like two pairs in the darkness, which is really cool. Because she buys a pear for each of them, and there's sort of like weird, feverish, guilty eating of a pear.
Fantastic. And now we're on to the third one.
Do you want to talk about Orbital now?
Yeah, please. While I was reading it, I was loving it, and thinking how I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen. And that was probably a stupid thing for me to think, because it's extremely short. There's not a lot of opportunity for things to happen. So as I was approaching the final pages of the book, I realized it wasn't going to be plot driven in any meaningful way.
Oh shit! Can you remind me? It's about astronauts, right?
Yeah. So the broad outline is it's a day in the life of these like 5 or 6 astronauts on the International Space Station, and there's some Russian cosmonauts, and then there's a Japanese astronaut, and I think an American, maybe a South American astronaut. I can't quite recall. And it's just their sort of internal thoughts, a little bit of backstory about them, and some beautiful kind of prose about what it's like living on the International Space Station, descriptions of views of Earth from near orbit, that kind of thing. It was so beautifully done, and I just felt so invested in the characters. And then it ended. And I found it deeply unsatisfying for that reason. I just felt like it was it was so well done, and that the author really knew who the characters were and what they were doing, and then just didn't go anywhere with that. It was too short for me, I think.
Right. Interesting. So you thought it was building to something.
That was a silly thought because it's extremely short. Like, obviously it wasn't doing that.
Is it silly to think that a book might go somewhere?
Yeah, this was the thing. Probably. Did you
Okay.
read? Oh, gosh, I can't remember what it was called. It was extremely short Booker shortlisted prize book, like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was by someone who had previously just written like a book of poetry, and it was extremely short. It was about like abortion. I remember listening to the podcast, your podcast, and one of
Did
your
I say I'd read it?
like I think Jenny really liked it. No, I don't think you did read it. It was basically about someone who is she's like an Instagram famous, like she's famous online maybe, and then her sister gets pregnant, and they find out quite late into the pregnancy that the baby's going to be born severely disabled and immediately die. So they seek an abortion, they can't get one. And it's written in like really, it's very short, and it's written in extremely lyrical, poetic prose because the author, I think, is a poet. And then she wrote this book. And I kind of thought it would be like that, given its brevity. And this is Orbital. I thought it would kind of be more along those lines, like something incredibly powerful packed into this
Yep.
tiny
Very
amount of
punchy.
pages. And it was so good. 10 out of 10 would recommend you read, but just this sense of frustration I felt was immense. That could have been the start of quite an involved novel, and then it stopped. So I found that frustrating. That was my hot take on it.
So did anything happen?
No, this is the thing, nothing happens. So you learn about the backstory of the astronauts, and one in particular, probably the most focused on astronaut, is the Japanese astronaut. Her mother's just died, and not a lot of the book, but a lot of the sort of scenes kind of focus on her thinking about her mother and reminiscing about her mother's life, and about the fact she's on the International Space Station. She can't attend her funeral, and she's sort of thinking, oh, at this moment in time they'll be performing this ceremony, this kind of thing. And it's extremely poignant and sort of touching. And my only criticism is that there wasn't more of it.
Okay, interesting. Do you sympathise with the idea that it won?
Look, I'll level with you, Sarah. Having not read any of the other books, I don't know, but
Okay.
I was interested to hear it won. I was pretty interested to hear it won. Yeah, because I find it difficult to imagine anyone read that book and didn't feel that same sense of dissatisfaction with it.
I very much thought that James would win, which we'll talk about next. So that's an interesting. Because the Safekeep I really liked, but I didn't. It's not one that I would sort of pick for winning a prize. No.
What I'll say about Orbital is that while I was reading it, and this is one of the things I loved and found transfixing about it, it literally and metaphorically described Earth from far away in a way that implicitly referenced things like geopolitical struggles and the climate crisis, and that was very powerful and also very topical. And I wonder if that was sort of part of why, at this moment in time, it resonated with the judges.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like I'm just sort of skimming through some of the reviews. They're not that high, to be honest. And then the ones that are very high are, yeah, as saying like that this book is a giant musing on humans, their impact, their need for connection, blah blah blah. So people who like it are really liking exactly what you're describing. That kind of like the
Yeah,
prose and the reflection and
it was so good. Yeah.
the thoughts that they're having. An ethereal novel, someone says. That's a nice description.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. I feel like they don't really care so much about things like plot and satisfaction in the book. They're all very like.
I agree with you, but I think you'd probably maybe agree with me if you read it. I don't know.
Oh, I agree.
I feel like we have quite different taste in books.
Do you? I don't know. I agree with you already.
Yeah. I'm convincing. That's why you agree with me.
Yeah, I'm afraid
I've
of you.
just argued my case so well.
I need you for my quizzes with all your knowledge about
Yeah,
directors.
that's right. So I liked the English Patient, and you didn't have a bar of it. You didn't read that one.
I thought you said at the beginning of this that you didn't finish it.
No, I read it. I read it recently.
Oh, I thought you said, Cobb, I thought you said you read 2 pages and you stopped. Isn't that what you said?
No. Sorry, I said I saw the movie when I was a very young child, so I haven't seen the movie, but
Okay.
I have this sort of primitive impression of the movie,
Right.
if that makes sense.
God,
Yeah.
why was my understanding of what you said so far from what you actually said?
You just weren't listening to me,
I
Sarah.
don't think I was. I'm so sorry. It's not even an approximation of what you said. I thought you said I read 2 pages of the book and then stopped.
No. I said that about you. Oh, not that specifically. I said you began to read that book and then didn't finish.
I was very impressed with the idea of you stopping after 2 pages. What a harsh critic.
I loved it. I really liked it.
God, I can't believe I got that so wrong. I don't think it's possible to be more wrong than I was just then.
No, you were, gosh, so wrong. Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe I was nervous. Sometimes when I record this podcast, you're so focused on trying to say things that are vaguely smart or intelligent or interesting or something that it's so hard to actually it's so hard to process what the other person's saying. So sometimes I listen back because I'm editing. I'm like, oh, is that what Jenny thought about that book? I didn't take in any of that.
Yeah.
It's really odd. You kind of black out.
I didn't hear any of what you just said. Sorry. I was Googling the. I'm kidding. I did.
I was Googling how to get rid of a friend. I was asking ChatGPT how to compose a message.
How to alienate friends.
who don't listen to your stories.
The book I was referencing before that was very short, that Orbital might be similar to in terms of its pace, was No One Is Talking About This.
Oh, by Patricia Lockwood. Is that Patricia Lockwood?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Orbital isn't like that. So for me, I mean, this is very reductive, but the pace of that book is like, whoa, it's very intense. And then the pace of Orbital is it's very slow. These people are floating about on the International Space Station like they've got time on their hands. They're like cleaning the toilet, that sort of thing. That's what the book's about. They're looking out the window. That's what's being described. And then it just finishes. Like we meet them, we hear about some personal, human tragedies that they've experienced, and then we're done. And it was so well done. What I would have liked is to not have liked the book and then been able to say, this is ludicrous. But I can't say that because I thought it was amazing and really good. Just not, it wasn't long enough for me.
I'm more interested in it now than I was prior to talking to you about it.
I mean, you could probably knock it out in an afternoon. It's so short.
Maybe that's why it won. It's the only one I could be bothered rereading. That's why it won. There's something about, I've got to get this out of my head, but there's something about the setup of it that to me sounds like a sort of not that great joke, like a Russian astronaut, a Japanese astronaut, do you know what I mean? A group of astronauts of different nationalities walk into a bar and someone says something awkward.
Yeah. And sorry, one other thing. There wasn't a lot of this between the characters.
Cobby's making a what are you doing with your hands? You're making some sort of
I'm
entwining.
intertwining my fingers. So they didn't interact a lot. And that was another thing I anticipated. And then I was just sort of left hanging. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes sense.
As I was slowly or quite rapidly realizing the book was going to finish and there wasn't going to be, the International Space Station wasn't going to partly explode and they weren't going to have to escape in like a shuttle and pilot that down to Earth or something like that. That's a joke. I didn't expect that would happen, but I was sort of gearing up for the next phase. Like we've met them all, and now
of course
there'll be some not human intrigue, but there'll be some interaction between them, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. Did you read it on an e-reader?
Yep. Why do you ask that?
Oh, because you sort of you're less aware of where you are in the book when you're on it. Or I am, at least.
Oh, I feel like I'm hyper aware because I can see the bar at the bottom.
Okay. Never mind. I apologise.
It's okay. I forgive you.
I wish I'd read it now. I decided I wasn't. I just really had this strong thing that I really wasn't interested in it. But now I wish I'd read it. We could have had a more fulfilling conversation.
Yeah.
I
No,
apologise.
I think I've said all there is to say.
You've covered all. You've also covered my half of the
Yeah, I've covered
conversation. For that, I thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you agree with me.
I do. Yeah, I'm very taken by what you said. I feel very compelled, very motivated, very engaged, and full of belief about what you've said.
Look, I would say we have quite different taste in books, so I'd be fascinated to hear your opinions on this because I don't even know what I felt really in the end.
You keep saying that. I didn't know that we had different tastes in books. This is something I've learned after knowing you for like 10 years. I'm like, what?
All the time I'll read a book and then, because I'm a huge fangirl, I'll go onto Storygraph and see, has Sarah read this book? Oh, what did she think about it? And then almost inevitably I'll have loved it and you won't have finished it.
So I'm letting you down. Another one of my friends does this, Inga, which I think is really funny. She'll sort of gently take me to task about things I've written on Goodreads like some years ago. And she also listens to the podcast.
In 2017, you said this.
Yeah, she does. She's like, I just feel like your appraisal doesn't make sense. She'll point out some hole in my logic. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, I would encourage anyone to read this. I definitely think it's worth reading 100%. I suspect lots of people will agree that it's excellent, but share my frustration about the sort of overall experience of reading it.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm actually extremely interested. We might talk about the last one. What do we think? That was a very poor segue. I'm sorry, but I don't know. That's the segue I've got.
I thought it was great.
Oh, thank you. Very smooth, wasn't it? Very professional.
Is the last one James?
The last one is James by Percival Everett, which is funny because I was so confident this would win without even reading like a lot of the others. So I read this one, maybe a month or two ago. James is essentially a retelling of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, and it's about, in that book, I think the premise of Huck Finn, I haven't read Huck Finn, but the premise of it is this boy runs away. This is in the US, and I'm sure everyone knows the story, but this is in the US in the sort of the slave era, and one of the enslaved men of this house goes with him and basically kind of looks after him. James is the story of that enslaved man, so it's retelling the story from his perspective. Because in Huck Finn, the original one, they get separated for most of it. So Huck Finn is the one you follow Huck, the enslaved man, who I think he's also called James in the original book. He sort of goes away and he comes back later. Everyone sort of comically meets up again through a series of like bizarre and very Jane Eyre-like coincidences. You know, when they just have you read Jane Eyre, where they just literally run into each other in a field?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's convenient.
You're my cousin. And conveniently, a wealthy relative died, and we're about to all inherit his estate.
Good thing we're all walking through this field together. It's like in
gosh, that was lucky.
Yeah, in Pride and Prejudice, where she's like wants to go and talk to Mr. Darcy, so she just walks across a paddock and there he is. She's like, oh, there you are.
I feel like that's more forgivable.
Anyway, so that's what happens in Huck Finn. So James is retelling the story of James. I really, really liked this. It's super clever. One of the interesting things that they do that Percival Everett does, is that there's this sort of like almost dialect, I guess, that enslaved people would speak in. It's that kind of like almost Creole way of talking.
Sure, yeah.
And then in James, he writes that is just a way that it's a voice that they put on in order to like make white people feel more comfortable. They all like just put on this kind of, I think they call it slave language or something. And then when they're talking to each other, they're like extremely scholarly in like quite a funny way. And they'll talk about like how foolish these people are. It's quite funny, and it's like a really interesting sort of device that he uses. So there's the switch between them, because for the most part it's just they're just sort of like talking to each other. There's not a lot of interaction with the white people in the book. So for the most part, they're just sort of like talking to each other, trying to figure things out about how they're going to get free. At the time, it's in the time when some of the states have had, like, slavery's been abolished, and some of them haven't. So he's trying to get to a place where slavery has been abolished. So he's, like, meeting a lot of other people on the way who know where to go and all that kind of stuff. So it's just the juxtaposition between how they talk to each other and then what happens when one of the kind of quote-unquote owners comes back is quite interesting. I just really liked it. It's very pacey, it's very fast, it's quite adventure-y. He sort of keeps that Mark Twain-y adventure book in it, but then there's so much kind of like commentary. He does so many kind of interesting things with how people who are enslaved kind of, how they sort of make these tactical decisions and how they're sort of trying to get their papers and trying to get a new life, and how they're sort of weighing things up. And there's decisions to be made about, like, if you get caught, you could try and get caught somewhere tactical so that you can go somewhere where you might have another chance of escaping. And it's this very, very clever and interesting balance between this sort of very pacey adventure book that you fly through and something that's very thoughtful and has a lot of layers to it. It feels like this sort of weirdly layered book that you're, like, racing through. So I really, really enjoyed it because it's so fast, but then you feel like I felt throughout, I was like, I'm probably missing. He's probably doing so much more than because I haven't read Huck Finn. So there's probably so much more commentary. He's probably changing so many things subtly that I'm not appreciating on the original story. And I know there's a part where they join up with this sort of group of sort of comical travelling men who are sort of like they have this sort of like weird circus act. So he joins them. And I think that's quite different from that. Those characters are in the original book, but I think he's made them quite different. So I think I probably miss, like, a lot of what he was actually doing in that. But I just thought it was excellent. Like, I really was sort of, I've read The Trees by Percival Everett, and I didn't love it. And this, I was really full of admiration by the end of James, really.
Cool.
I just
sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I really, really liked it. Super pacey.
Because I like a good plot. I'll level with you. I like that.
Yeah, I think you would like it.
Plot and character. Let's bring both. That sounds extremely cool. And a reimagining of Huckleberry Finn that's cool too. Although I also haven't read the original, but we'll be interested to read it alongside this potentially.
Yeah, I saw an interesting interview. I didn't watch the whole thing, but Percival Everett being interviewed by Caleb Azuma Nelson, British Ghanaian writer. Open Water, that's his new, and Small Worlds.
Oh yeah, rings a bell.
Yeah, he interviewed Percival Everett, and I watched sort of the first 15 minutes or so, and the main thing I took away was Percival Everett has thought far more about these kind of slavery era books, what they mean, how you can change them, than I like. It was an incredible amount of knowledge. And there's obviously just an incredible amount of thought that he's put into what he's done. And I also got the feeling that I feel like everything he did in that book was extremely deliberate.
Yeah, cool. I think that's sort of maybe part of people's mixed emotions about Huckleberry Finn. She said, having never read it, is that it's this sort of beloved, quintessentially American book, but then it's difficult because of its time, the way it explores all of those sort of issues is difficult for people.
Yeah, it sort of made me, I felt very happy to have read James, and I'm sort of quite happy to never read Huck Finn, really. Maybe I will one day, but...
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I felt very satisfied by the end of it.
You're done.
Yeah. He doesn't mind.
He's fine. He's dead. He doesn't know.
So I just really, I would recommend reading it, actually.
Yeah, I'd love to, actually. And I should have in preparation for being on this podcast, but I only made it through Orbital.
That's all right. You made it through the winner, so thank God for that, because I didn't.
You're so lucky I'm here.
I had a great time. Genuinely, I really enjoyed doing this with you.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was really fun.
Thank you for inviting me on your podcast.
Please.
I'm famous now.
You are very famous. That was it. Those are our thoughts on 4 of the Booker shortlisted books. So I think the sum, yeah, I really felt like James would get it, but it didn't. But we're reasonably happy, are we not? I'm reasonably happy.
Yeah, I don't think we're sad. I would say I don't feel strongly, but I come from a place of ignorance, having just read Orbital and none of the other books.
That's fine. I was just going to slip that past.
Okay. Just cut that last bit out.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Thank you so much, Cobb. I really enjoyed recording with you. It was very fun. Thanks for being my friend.
And you, Sarah.
If you would like what do I have to say at the end of the episode? If you want to listen to more episodes, oh no, I know what you want to say. If you want to support the podcast, you should sign up to our Patreon. We have monthly bonus episodes and lots of other stuff on our Patreon. You could also sign up to our newsletter where we send out random extra reviews and all that kind of thing. But if you want to keep in touch with us, the best way is to follow us on Instagram or on TikTok. We are at Bookcast Club on both of those, so please message us. We really like it. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Cobby, and we will speak to you again in a week. Goodbye.
Bye.